Hello YouTube family, James Green. Short, serious shenanigans. So, we're getting close to the end. We're working on the Marvel Schebler carburetor. We got our oxyacetylene torch out with our 0 tip. I like using this one for small stuff, especially since this is a small item we're going to be working on. So, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm going to be showing you guys now. I don't have any fancy, to where you can make everything, dark like that. That would be cool, wouldn't it? That'd be awesome. But maybe down the road. Maybe one of these days I'll get a production crew. Anyway, so what we're going to be doing, I'll go ahead and get my hat on so we can protect the old scalp there, the old sweatband, like my America themed hat here. So what we're going to be using is, I have some, and I'm trying to use them up. I'm not a big fan of them, but they do work. They're the coated from Lincoln Electric brazing rods. Okay, sometimes it's hard to find the brazing flux in the container. I happened to find this several years ago and glommed onto it. A little goes a long way. So if you're ever walking through and you see this, or it's brazing flux or an old can, snag it up. Even using these, you don't get enough flux, or you want to put extra, you still heat your rod, you can dip it in there. Yes, it will work because it's the same stuff. So, pre-coated rod, I bought this years ago. I thought, okay, just let me go ahead and use it up. Typically what I do, and I have some really small brass filler that I want to use up. You just take raw brass rod, heat it up, dip it, and go. So I'm going to go ahead and use these up while we're at it. Get everything started. And so just to recap everything, now I haven't cut the flats on here, and so our fitting that we made, and I had people ask, why did you make it? Because it needed to be a little bit longer. If you go back, here's one of the reasons you don't want to fast forward through the videos. Guys, I've been getting lots of questions, email questions. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? If you listen to the video and I explained why, I don't mind answering it again, but the reason we did make this piece longer, so we can get back in there further past where we're going to be repairing. So all I have left to do on this is cut some flats on it for a wrench. Now, just so you know, to recap, this was actually 1/2 inch, 24 thread per inch, and it's a straight thread. It's not a taper, because that's pipe. So it's 1/8 inch pipe, 27 thread per inch, 1/2 inch, 24 thread per inch. I single pointed that. We recreated the area inside for the fitting, ferrule fitting, and all that to go. So that is just about done. We'll do a setup in the mill, and I'll probably show that because that'll be a unique setup. So we wanted to get out here this morning and get cracking with it and get this started. We've made our graphite backer. It's screwed in there. Everything's set up. Hopefully I'm set up for success. I'm going to get you guys in here, and I know it's going to be bright and hard to see. And this, again, why I've done this series is depending on who you're at or where you're at in the world. This might be the only time you've ever seen this demonstrated. For those of you that have already done brazing and stuff before, I'm probably not going to show you anything new or interesting, but those of you that haven't, hopefully you'll learn something. So I will be trying to see here what would be a good distance to. Okay, I think that'll work good for right now. If I have to, in between, make sure I'm not blocking the view, and I might back it out just whoop. Now what I've done is, so everyone knows, this is not a good sterret. This is an old, it's a shop made or import, whatever, and I use this for holding items up. Some people like to go crazy with the big red magnets where you can hold stuff together in a corner. The thing about magnets is when you get them hot, they lose their magnetism. So Whenever you cannot use a magnet when you're welding right next to it or brazing, we're going to be getting this pretty hot, and we don't want to overheat everything, so we're going to be really careful. I haven't heated this up yet, so I am expecting some off-gassing, maybe even some flame pouring out of areas. So we'll go ahead and crack the door just a smidgen back here. Okay, got my air conditioner running. We have airflow. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll get set up here. And away we go. We're just going to heat the part up first. Now what you could do, you could use like temp sticks or a digital IR thermometer. Well, he did a real good job of getting all the grime and everything off of here, which is good. I'm going to start off with this small stuff first. Got to make sure we keep it wet in the saddle, heating up all the areas. And back here, since it's a little thicker, you have to hold a little more heat back there. I had some people ask me how come I don't just go ahead and braze the brass nipple in there. I'm afraid that if I try that, it might just turn away into a big blob, and then I'd have a big mess to try to dig out. So that's why I opted to do this the way I am. And I could use a bigger tip, but I don't want to get everything too hot too quick. Or, you know, you get too much gas blowing in there, you can blow stuff around. This is a real small, tiny area. Making sure I have it hot enough down here so my brass will flow. Yeah, there we go. Grab another one. You don't want to let it get too cool. I'm going to add a little more in here, build it up. Now we'll go ahead and use some of this stuff. Hope you guys can see it. Get a little extra flux. Try to add another layer up here on the top. And we'll go back and dress some of this up with a die grinder. Kind of make it look pretty. Trying to make sure I get enough built up so I don't have to come back and add any more. Now I'm going to flow a little bit over between both of these. That little piece that was still left in there. Like I said, we want to give this thing every fighting chance we can. So it doesn't break again. All right. Okay, we're going to leave that like it is. I believe we have enough brass on there, and that thing is smoking hot. I'll zoom you guys in here so you can take a look and see. I don't want to move it just yet because I just got through. Now I made sure that whenever I did this that I had plenty of extra even back over the broken area, and we'll come in here and we'll dress it up. You know, there is a lot. I made sure I may have to come back, we'll see, and add some out here. excuse me, out here. It tried to run down the side here a little bit, but that's fine. This is, you know, I'm pretty sure that's going to work okay. We're going to let everything cool down naturally. Matter of fact, now that it's cool enough, that's even hot. It's cool enough now. I don't believe anything is going to move, and we will let that set for several hours and cool off. Matter of fact, go ahead, back out here. Look. We will pull out our fiberglass blanket. I've always got extras floating around here. And we're just going to wrap that up right there. Matter of fact, we'll just wrap it all up right there. All wrapped up. We'll let it cool off. Don't take an air hose to it. Don't put it in water. I watched a guy do that one time that worked for us. Briefly, he worked for us. Claimed to be a, I'll just say, very experienced individual. Of course, you can see the heat pouring off of everything now. The blanket is smoking. We'll make sure we keep the fan going. But anyway, he claimed to be a very experienced individual in many areas. I don't even think he lasted a week. I think he lasted a week. But yeah, he got through welding something. We were just had him weld some brackets or something together, and he got done welding it, and you know, his welds looked, I mean, they looked good, you know, I mean, it was alright. We were stick welding some stuff, and we just needed to make up some brackets that were going to go in a concrete pad for rebar bracing and stuff like that, for a fixture that was going to hold some bolts out of this, above the concrete to bolt something to. And so he had been making them up, or we had made some up, and then he had made a couple, and we left and came back from lunch, and he's like, yeah, I'm just done with these. And then we're like, why do you have the hose over here? Is that in case there's a fire? And because of where it was, I mean, it was like dirt. There wasn't, you know, there wasn't anything that catch on fire. He's like, no, I use that to cool my welds off. And he got through welding, and he picked up the hose and sprayed it. And Dad said, why are you doing that? Oh, so I can handle them quick. Briefly explained to him, my father did, that, you know, that's how you fracture a weld. So Dad said, which ones did you make? He's, well, this one and this one and this one. Dad said, well, let me show you something. He picks it up, and again, it's just something that's going to be covered in concrete and whatever, so you're not too concerned about looks, but you want to make sure it doesn't fall apart. So he picks it up and says, okay, here's one you built. And he took it and he slams it against the ground, and nearly every weld on it just pops and breaks apart. He said, now I'm going to show you one I built. And Dad picks one up and slams it against the ground, and none of the welds break. He says, that's why you don't cool your welds off with water. He said, so now you need to go back and re-weld them. He says, don't cool anything off with water, just let it cool naturally. You know, he says, there's plenty of room out here. You know, there's like 5 acres, open dirt. Just move your stuff, you know. He says, that's what, you know, if you want to pick it up and move it, he said, that's what those channel locks and vice grips are there for. You clamp onto it, you pick it up, you carry it over, and you set it down. So that was interesting. So there we go. We're going to let this cool off, and hopefully you guys, this is going to, like I said, I know some of you probably think that it's kind of overkill, but again, why I'm doing this video is for the guy that I'm doing it for, so he has something to watch, kind of sees the progress. And so if you yourself as a viewer want to do a small repair on a carburetor like this, yeah, there's different ways you could go about it. I was concerned about, because when you get brass, it's very, very hard to tell. When brass gets to that point and all of a sudden it goes from solid to liquid, is like that. So that's why. Now, someone that may do this all day, every day for a living might just be that good and that confident in their brazing abilities. Me, I'm okay. You know, I'm not the best in the world, but I get by. So I would be afraid that if I put that in there, or this one, and tried to braze it in, it would just go, and then I have a big mess to try to dig out and clean out and redo. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. We'll let this cool down several hours, and we'll come back, pull out, do our dress up machining. And so there you go. Again, if you guys find some of this laying around, or you happen to be going through hardware store or old place, sometimes the cans look really, sometimes the labels are gone and they're even bigger cans. Open them up, look inside. It's like, hey, is this brazing flux? Because this stuff's getting harder and harder to find. This is pretty much the norm nowadays. So they're both good stuff. Okay, guys and gals, hope you've enjoyed. The blanket is sitting here smoking. So we're going to go ahead and call that a wrap on this video. We'll go ahead and open it up, get the fan blowing, so that way that stuff doesn't get in here too much more. So there you go. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. James Green, Short Series Shenanigans. Take care of yourself and take care of your family, because at the end of the day, you and your family's all you got. Until next time, find some brazing flux and some brass stuff. Work with brass every chance you get. It's fun stuff. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.